Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphan Last, aka Skylar Madison, and today I'm going to go ahead and work on yet another Dauntless Commission. They liked my artwork in the last Dauntless image that I created for this particular client. They liked it so much that they wanted me to draw another one, and who knows, there might be yet another one down the road, which is awesome. You know, knowing that I can get work with my artwork, you know, it's a little bit reassuring, especially if, you know, I'm getting a repeat customer and such like that. So far, right now, I'm offering a reasonable price. So if you, personally, the person watching this, would like to commission me, just keep in mind, as of right now, my pricing is actually fairly reasonable. So if you want to hire me, you know, I'm open to it and all that. Now, you can see me working with these 3D models. Now, by and large, just about everybody inside of this image has the same sort of pose as they're kind of, you know, they're just kind of skydiving down onto this island. And I just kind of felt like, you know, if I'm going to spend all this time working, and I don't always use a 3D model, but if I'm going to spend all this time posing a 3D model around and making it, you know, just right, then, you know, if all of them have a very similar pose, then I should be able to just copy and paste the same pose and just kind of change the camera angle just a little bit here and there, and that should work as my sketch, and that's precisely what it wound up being, the sketch for the people, at the very least. It's just kind of like a time saver sort of thing. And, you know, the city was kind of difficult on this island in that it was densely populated with buildings, and, you know, trying to not get lost as to looking at your reference and asking, well, which building was I drawing? That was pretty difficult. So normally I don't do this, but I wound up actually cutting and pasting different sections of the reference and just kind of moving that pasted section close to where I was drawing and all of that. The only downside to this particular technique is it's really easy to lose sight of perspective from one end of the city to the other, making one building a little bit too big and then not having enough room for other buildings. And so ultimately, since this wound up being kind of impressionistic, I wound up kind of thinking, well, I just need to put the buildings that capture the main heart and soul of this city, and that's it. And even though that's the mindset that I had, there were thousands of little tiny lines that I had to draw in order to draw out the city. I mean, it did take quite a bit of time just to do it. But, you know, it worked out just fine, I feel. I think I got the gist of what this particular city looks like just fine. And, you know, the last time that I made you know, a commission for this particular client for the Dauntless sort of, you know, intellectual property, the client actually left a comment, and he clarified a few things. And so I'm going to go ahead and actually read that comment. He says, Mike DiBaggio here, author of Dauntless and co-creator of the Ascension Epoch. And I wanted to congratulate you again on this excellent piece. And that is great to hear. This is me talking at this point in time. That's great to hear. He thinks it's an excellent piece. Thank you. It's good to hear that I have a happy client. And then continuing to read it, he says, it'll add a lot of excitement and atmosphere to the next issue of Dauntless. Dauntless is a book set in the Ascension Epoch, a shared universe of adventure fiction. Sorry about that. It is built on both original elements and public domain sources. In addition to appealing to readers with entertaining stories, it is intended to be collaboratively developed with other writers and artists. A world of heroic adventure. We have 6 published novels and short story collections, and now several tabletop RPG supplements, including Dauntless #1. that's cool. That's really cool. This is the sort of thing that I kind of want, and this is me talking. This isn't me reading at this point in time. There's more to the comment, but generally this is kind of what I want for the galactic ring. All of what he just described just there. But continuing forward with reading his comment, the background is an alternate history where human beings with extraordinary supernatural abilities called talents began to reappear around the middle of the 19th century. The course of world history is then altered irrevocably by the Martian invasion of 1898, laying the groundwork for 20th and 21st century substantially different from our own. But unbeknownst to most, the epoch-making War of the Worlds was only the most recent skirmish in a desperate aeons-long war between the forces of good and evil, a war whose primary battleground is the planet Earth. For more info, it can be found at https ://www.ascensionepoch.com. And of course, all of that right there, that link, as well as the links that I provided in the previous commission, will be included in the video description below inside of this video, so that you guys could take a look at it and see what it's all about. I think it's kind of cool. I kind of sort of once I heard what they were kind of creating, it kind of got me to kind of think, well, why don't I just do that with the galactic ring? That sounds awesome. And so one thing that I'd like to mention is that even though I've been trying to keep in contact with the client, I understand that sometimes the client is busy and can't just take a look at a picture or something like that. But as a result, the final image that you guys are going to wind up seeing at the end of this video, I haven't really quite gotten the thumbs up for. I wound up actually drawing out a bunch of a few clouds inside of the composition, and they were done kind of comic book like, and they look cool in their own way, but I'm not really quite sure if they really fit inside of the composition all too well. And so what I'm thinking is maybe I might just delete the layer that the clouds are on, and then I might just progress forward from there just by creating the clouds with one of the sponge brushes. And I think that will resolve the issue quite well. Now, inside of the last commission, I wound up actually using a vector layer inside of Clip Studio Paint. And that made it really easy to change lines from being black to turning white and such like that. And I couldn't imagine working on the previous commission without having done that. It would have been a complete and total nightmare. But this time around, I did not use any of the vector layers, and yet everything seemed to work out just fine. There were a few little setbacks, a few little things that kind of slowed me down, but ultimately everything worked out just fine. And, I guess there's one thing that some people may say is maybe possibly wrong, I guess, because I made the right side of the mountain dark, and ultimately, there could be a million, I don't know, with cross-hatching, since something happens to be dark, it doesn't necessarily mean that is shadow. It could be plant life, it could be any number of different details, just kind of scaled down into the distance and stuff like that, and then it just appears as black. Whereas the light source is on the right side, and so for everything else. And so, it's not, I wasn't really envisioning the black of this mountain as being a shadow. So I don't know, after the fact I was thinking, that might cause a little bit of confusion, but I keep looking at the image and I keep thinking, it looks great. It looks fine. And so, of course, I just need to kind of see what the client thinks. There might be a few minor alterations to the image that I might have to make. Hopefully it's not something that'll take hours and hours to do. Hopefully it'll only be something like maybe 20 to 30 minutes worth of work, but even if it wound up being an hour's worth of extra work, I wouldn't mind, just simply because, that's kind of one of the hazards of making a commission a video. Like, if you can't get in touch with the client, you still have your deadline with the video. It needs to be out at a particular time, and so you just need to just keep continuing regardless of if you're getting feedback from the client. And so if there is some alterations that need to be made, I'm open to it. I guess it's my own fault for having having a YouTube channel, I guess, and wanting to include this particular image on my channel. But it also kind of gives them a little bit more exposure, at least to my audience, and so I think in the end it kind of benefits us both, in that I get my artwork into a magazine, and they get a little bit more exposure for their project, because it's appearing inside of here. So basically this week was kind of weird for me, because I didn't really have much time to work on a video, but I still tried to do everything I could in order to get this video out. So this commentary, it's by and large, it's unedited and all that, but it is what it is. It's what I could do for the week. Hopefully everyone can be a little bit patient with me. I know that some of my artwork recently on my channel, it's been a lot of sketches and stuff like that, and some of them haven't really been all too elaborate, but I feel like with my sketchbook session, if that series, the sketchbook session series, those images aren't necessarily supposed to be like the most professional images. They're just supposed to be like quick sketches. I don't know. To me, it's like when I was a kid, like, things were kind of different because the internet didn't really exist, and by the time that the internet did exist, it wasn't the same thing as it is right now. And so I never had access to seeing what a professional artist's sketchbook looks like and what it should be used for and such like that. And ultimately, the sketchbook session series is kind of to try to show these are the sorts of things that you would see inside of someone's sketchbook. This is how a sketchbook is treated. Now, there are people on YouTube, they have like these super amazing sketchbooks, and the actual physical sketchbook that I have right now, that's actually made out of paper and such like that. It's got a few amazing images, but by and large there are just as many images that are just kind of chicken scratch, just kind of getting the idea on the page as quickly as possible. For every masterpiece that's inside of my sketchbook, there's just just as many pictures that are just kind of chicken scratched real quick. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that since my channel is oriented around education and such, like educating people about artwork, how to draw, and all that, I think giving people the opportunity to just kind of have a good look at the full body of work that I do, in that, like, even my sketches that aren't necessarily the most professional, I think it might give some people a little bit more hope, because, like, some people, they just think, oh, every single piece that I draw has to be a masterpiece. And when it doesn't, when your images aren't always a masterpiece and such like that, and you don't allow yourself to fail like you do inside of a sketchbook, like you're supposed to, people feel discouraged, and then a lot of times they quit. And that's I don't know, some of these sketchbook session images that I draw, even though they're not like the most amazing thing in the world, it frees me up to accept that, hey, you know what, this is my opportunity to allow myself to draw an image that's not really necessarily the most successful image in the world, and kind of showing you guys what that looks like, I guess, so that you guys might know where you are, if you're on track or not, or something like that. If you understand what I mean, I hope I'm making sense. He wanted to have the client wanted to have a tank being parachuted down, and at first glance, some people may say, well, that tank is going to land inside of the ocean, but not really, because it's got this forward momentum because it just fell out of an airplane. So I just kind of feel like, well, okay, well, it's got this forward momentum. It's just activated its parachutes, and it's going to sail its way onto dry land. That sounds awesome. And so it's at this point that I actually started to deactivate a lot of the noise on the screen, like the initial sketch that I made inside of my sketchbook that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And that's the moment where I kind of got to actually see what the image actually looks like, because I had an idea as to what the image and what the composition was going to look like all along, but I just kind of you have all of these different types of references all on the screen all at once, and you use it as a roadmap, and then finally when you deactivate all of those references, including the rough sketch that you initially made, and you finally see what it is that you have actually been drawing without anything else, any of the other reference noise on the screen. And most of the time, 99% of the time when I do that, I'm totally satisfied with how things look. And here I'm just kind of fleshing out the parachutes and such like that. And cross-hatching takes forever, but since I put cross-hatching in the previous image, I kind of wanted there to be unity to my work inside of this issue of this particular magazine. And that way my artwork will be able to stand out. People might be able to recognize a consistent style for that issue. If they come out with another issue and they want me to work on it, I think that I'll do less cross-hatching, probably none, and continue with that sort of workflow for that particular issue, just to kind of show a little bit more diversity to what it is that I do and all that, and how I do it. And so here I start actually laying down the shadows and highlights on the city. It felt like it was incomplete, and so I just kind of quickly laid down shadows and such like that. The thing is that I just kind of felt like I don't know, even though I drew out all these little boxes and stuff for every single building, I felt as though it had no dimension. And so if I put shadow on some sides and then on the ground, it would communicate 3 dimensions a heck of a lot better. And then I start laying down the highlights, and everything starts really kind of coming together for this particular image. And after that, that's when I start working on the clouds, and you can kind of see the sort of workflow that I did. I think the clouds in the foreground are the main offender, the thing that I think that it's the thing that I feel the client is most likely to complain about. So this cloud that you see me drawing on the screen right now, it looks fine. It looks good. I think the client's going to be pretty happy with it. But the cloud in the foreground, you'll see what I mean. I decided to do this strange-looking type of cross-hatching that looks more abstract than anything, and it looks cool in its own doodly sort of way, but I don't know. There is a possibility where someone might be able to look at this second cloud that I draw out here and think to themselves, what the heck is that? And so, this cloud right here that you see me drawing right now, this, it doesn't quite look as good as I want it to look. Like I said, or at least like I believe I said at the beginning of the video, I may just erase or delete these particular layers that the clouds are on and just replace them with a sponge brush. And you know, a sponge brush just looks like a cloud anyway, and so why not? And yeah, so we're coming up kind of close to the end of the video and the end of the image. You can see me kind of playing around with the idea of the cross hatching and kind of playing around with it. It's got some really cool looking movement going on with it, and you know, the line thickness, the variance in the line, it's compelling in a way, but I'm not really quite sure if it matches the rest of the image. And so here's the final image coming up on the screen right here. You can see it. You know, it definitely feels as though they're really high up in the air. I like how the image looks. It looks awesome. The only thing that I am worried about in terms of what the client's going to say is, hey, that cloud looks really weird. And so who knows, I may just have to adjust that. That'll be about 10 minutes of work or something like that. No problem. Anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys would like to get more notifications from me, feel free to join my Discord. Link to my Discord is in the video description below. If you'd like to support this channel, feel free to purchase one of my t-shirts on my Teespring. A link to my Teespring is in the upper right corner of the screen right now or in the video description below. If you've enjoyed this content and would like to see more, feel free to click on anything else that's appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.